you want me
Yeah, we're gonna get started in a couple of minutes. So, you're gonna get started. So I will, Rob, our friend and board member, he's gonna get us started on as soon as we get the sign from Mike to get started. Rob is gonna take the mic and give us an introduction.
Thank you, Mark. Give me a cue. I'm waiting for the nice sign from Michael.
Hold on.
We're national over here, you know. We have a bigger crowd than Biden, so you know we should be happy with that. Yes.
Okay, I'm putting it live now.
Good evening, and welcome to the Jawline meeting of the Global Faith Institute. Here we try to be ambassadors for the gospel of Christ, be advocates for the victims of Islam, and to be champions of the United States Constitution.
Woo-hoo.
I'd like to open with a prayer. Please bow our heads. Dear Father, we thank you for the opportunity to meet in a free country. We ask your blessing for this food and us to your service. We ask your guidance and blessing for this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, our speaker needs no introduction. Please help me introduce welcome, Mark Christian.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm not wearing a mask, okay? Yeah, right. We just heard the bad news that the convention in Jacksonville is canceled, and so yeah, so it's a very bad news. Some people are more angry than others, but we still believe that God is in control and things will be in the good direction no matter what. He's in control. I think every day we kind of with this chaos that we're living through, we need to realize that we need to depend on God more and more every day. I have lots of things I want to talk about today, and it's a very heavy time. It's very interesting time that we live in, and I bet that as many of you has been living with a heavy heart and lots of questions about what is the future of our country and so forth. And I wish I have an amazing optimistic message for you today, but I'm about the truth and the facts and what's going on. And whatever we're going to learn today, we're going to realize more and more that we need God more than ever in our own lives personally, and also in our nation more than ever before. And the only thing that will one that will deliver us through all of this is God. And this is why we need to depend on Him. And also there is lots of work that we need to do. So we should not try to run out of the field, but run to the field and try to do what God is putting on our hearts to do every day. A few things I want to be talking about today is Joe Biden and his message to the Muslim communities, and the content of the message, and also what he's trying to do and who put this event together. And there is other topics we're going to be discussing today as well, and we're going to take lots of questions and have a good conversation with each other, and then we will see what we need to do together, maybe listen to each other, and also I have some ideas of what to do in the future. Before we came to this event, we were looking about, I was planning to be at the convention, and but now there is no convention, so we're trying to find somebody who's going to be speaking next month. Now you're going to stuck with me next month again, so there's no convention. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So, I want to play a video for you, and if it is ready online and over here, we can play that. Unfortunately, we have to talk about Joe Biden, and we have his video for a minute or so. So let's watch what he has to say.
And a racial justice crisis, a long overdue national reckoning about the way our country has treated blacks, browns, Native Americans, and I know Muslim Americans feel that too, especially black Muslims.
Is any sound?
Presumptive Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden recently addressed the Million Muslim Vote Summit, put on by an organization.
Oh, we gotta be nice. We talked about God, so. There is any speakers connected to it or not?
Well, there are, and I I need to unmute.
That helps. Volume is up. You go ahead.
The impact of decades of underinvestment in childcare, and now we're seeing this fragile.
Have you heard about this message of what he has to say whatsoever? That's you're gonna be, you know, he had lots of very good videos out there. You know, there's no doubt about that. But this is one of the most disturbing, in my opinion. And by the way, I actually met Joe Biden back in July, and you know, I had a conversation with him for maybe 20-something minutes, and one-on-one. No, one-on-one with my son and his friends with me as well. I'll talk about that as well. No, just last July. Yeah.
A year ago.
Is that? Oh, that's actually a year ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. No, I don't think it was July of last year. I think it was.
We all come from the same root here in terms of our fundamental basic beliefs.
Yeah,
and I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity for being engaged, for committing to action this November.
There is a dog and
doing what's been that's never been done before. You're registering and turning out 1 million Muslim voters this November. It matters. Your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. Muslim Americans' voices matter. I don't have to tell any of you that this is the most important election in modern American history. Muslim communities were the first to feel Donald Trump's assault on black and brown communities in this country with his vile Muslim ban. That fight was the opening barrage to what has been nearly 4 years of constant pressure and insults. I'll be a president who seeks out and listens to and incorporates the ideas and concerns of Muslim Americans on everyday issues that matter most to our communities. That will include having Muslim American voices as part of my administration. If I have the honor of being president, I will end the Muslim ban on day one.
That's right.
Day one. And I'm here today to ask you to join me in a fight to rip this poison from our government root and stem, or as the famous case said, root and branch, starting by making Donald Trump a one-term president this November. But I'm not just asking for your support because the alternative is unthinkable. I want to earn your vote, not just because he's not worthy of being president. I want to work in partnership with you to make sure your voices are included in the decision-making process as we work to rebuild our nation. We can't just build back to where we were before Donald Trump took office. We have to build back better.
So what Joe Biden was doing over here, can you cancel the sound so I can get talking?
I had heard that he wanted to teach you rules.
It's good. Okay. So the video that you listened to part of it. So the Muslim Brotherhood front groups in the United States of America, namely Council of American Islamic Relationship, one of the biggest front groups of the Muslim Brotherhood here, they are working very hard to correct 2016 and go back to prior to that. And as I mentioned before, the Islamist movement has been given a very bad defeat in 2016, and their agenda has been halted in America and across the globe as well. So they are working very, very hard to correct that and to go back to before 2016 and build on this like what Joe Biden is saying. But what's disturbing about Joe Biden's statements is a few things. Number one, he started by saying that Islam is an awesome religion. And I don't want to talk verbatim about what he said, but that's fine. But, some of you, I did not hear it. He says Islam is an awesome religion, that he wishes, number one, that the American public and American schools should teach Islam more in our schools. That's what he says. This is number one. Number two is he said that he is going to be standing with the Muslim communities and so forth, which is blah, blah, blah. But he is promising that he's going to put Muslims in administration so they can further the goal of their agenda as well. And then the third part, he said, he said multiple things throughout the video. And by the way, the video, this is 1 minute. He talked for at least 15 minutes in the long version of his speech. At the end of it, he's quoting Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, in a hadith that is a very interesting one. And the hadith that he actually said in English that Muslims are commissioned by the prophet of Islam, Muhammad, that if they see wrong, that they have to correct that wrong. He said the hadith specifically, I think he was reading it from a piece of paper or a prompter in front of him. And he said Muslims should, when they see wrong, they have to change it. And they have different ways to change that. They have to change it by their heart, by their words, and by their actions. And then he finished his speech by calling for Muslims to vote for him. So I want to go through the three things that he mentioned over there, and we need to look at them a little bit. And you guys can see me okay, or I need to be back here? You can see me better, okay? That we need to go through different things that he talked about and go through them one by one, okay? The number one is when he says that we should teach Islam in our schools in the United States of America more. Number one is, I thought when I first came to the United States, and I was so excited about my faith as Christian, and I thought I went to a place where I can be freely expressing my faith as a Christian, finally, after years of doing underground, in Egypt and so forth. And when I sent my son to school, and the first Christmas came, and I was talking to his kindergarten teacher, and I says, we are approaching Christmas, and she took me on the side as if I did something wrong, and had to explain to me, this crazy guy coming from Egypt, we should not say Christmas at schools. And had to explain, and I said, why? And I'm dumb, I don't know. I didn't know that you cannot do that at schools over here. And she had to explain to me that we are not supposed to do that. Obviously, when it comes to Islam, the whole fight in schools, take the Bible out and Christianity and religion out of the school is out of the window, because we have to appreciate Islam. And we have to give more credence and more respect and more rights to Islam more than anything else, obviously, according to Joe Biden. I don't agree with that whatsoever, and I'm going to tell you why. The religion of Islam is not over here, I'm an Islamophobe, or I hate Islam, or so forth. I have the right. I actually grew up in Islam. Islam took away everything from me. Islam tried to kill me by the hand of my own father. So I have the right to be angry or upset, but I'm not. I'm not hating anybody. I'm not even hating my father. I love him dearly. I pray for him daily. I cry every time I talk to him because I miss him more than you can even imagine. The man that tried to kill me because of Islam. So I have every right to be angry at Islam, but I am not. Why? Because I have Christ in me, and in Christ in me you have forgiveness. You understand the people have problems and why they have problems and so forth, and you can forgive others, right? Amen to that. So I'm not over here hating anything. I just want to, see what kind of religion that he is talking about, especially the time that we live in. How many of you, number one, knows when was slavery abolished in the Muslim world? Does anybody know that answer to that question? When was the last time they have legal slaves in the Muslim world? Does anybody know? In the Muslim countries. There is 52 Muslim countries, and slavery existed in those Muslim countries for years. And at some point in time, it was abolished the same way it was abolished in the United States. It was abolished in the United States way back, right? But still we are fighting for it over here and talking about it and so forth. Do you know when Islam abolished slavery? Give me. I
thought that they never did.
That's a good point. Well, under the pressure of the United States of America, they were forced to abolish slavery legally. It still exists in the Muslim world in different kinds of shapes and forms because Islam allows it. The Prophet of Islam that Biden was quoting him, actually had slaves. Well, here is the thing. Muslims say that Muhammad was calling for abolishing of slavery. That is true, but it's a lie at the same time. Why? Because Muhammad called for the abolishment of slavery of Muslims. You cannot enslave Muslims. So in Islamic theology and jurisprudence, if you see a Muslim who is a slave, you have to do everything in your ability as a Muslim community to free him and pay for his ransom so he can be a free man. And Muslims are not allowed whatsoever to have Muslim slaves. But for non-Muslims, it's a free for all. So Muhammad himself had slaves who are not Muslims. You know, if you are not a Muslim, then you do not have the right of humanity that Muslims have according to Islam, and you can be enslaved. And Muslims, including Muhammad himself, had non-Muslim slaves, men and women, and some of them were sex slaves, others that were helping him in different kind of things and during war and so forth. And slavery existed until 1981, okay? 1981. The last country that abolished it was Mauritania in Africa, and abolished slavery in 1981. And Saudi Arabia abolished slavery under the pressure of the United States of America in 1968. Still slavery exists in those countries in different shapes and forms, like a servant and other things, but because they have to abide with the law and the international law and the pressure of the United States, they have to abolish it. So are we going to teach this religion that talks about slavery while we have Black Lives Matter? Is that a question should we ask Biden? I'm not an Islamophobe. I'm just going to ask him that question. Is this the religion that you want to teach in our schools? Is going to talk about slavery, about Muhammad having non-Muslims as slaves, and you have the women of your right hand, that they are your sex slaves and so forth? Are we going to teach that kind of religion, or are you going to take in parts of it and leave other parts? Other thing is polygamy and beating wives. Women is a second category human beings according to Islam, not citizens, second category human beings according to Islam. A perfect Muslim is a Muslim man who is imitating Muhammad in every way. Muhammad said that women, even Muslim women, are not complete, and they are less of a human being according to Islam, because they are not perfecting their own religion, and because they are they have their menstruation every month, and they get emotional, and during their menses they are not going to be doing the rituals of Islam. This is why by default there is 6 or 4 or 5 days of the month they are not praying and they are not doing the rituals, while men doing. So men is complete, have his own boxes, you know, of every day can be checked, but women cannot do that, and many other things. Is this a kind of religion we're going to teach in our schools? Is that the school? This is what he wants to teach us? Is this the time when we're talking about Trump is a misogynist and everybody in the Republican Party and the conservative movement and Christians are misogynists? Another thing is about Islam. Islam teaches that you have to kill the homosexuals, the people who did the act of Sodom and Gomorrah. They have to be killed, and they have specified how they're supposed to be killed: thrown off a high mountain and thrown off a high building, and they cannot be, this is not just history, by the way. In a country that I came from, Egypt, in 2017, because of a woman who is identifying as a gay woman or a lesbian woman in a Muslim country, decided that, you know what, we are a time of freedom and the time of social media, time of internet, time of revolution. She's going to take a flag, the rainbow flag, and will wave it in the streets of Cairo as a representation of who she is. Do you think in the Muslim countries accepting that in 2017? No, they didn't. They arrested her. They put her in jail. She was systematically raped by policemen and other officials until the United States government, under this president, was able to force Sisi of Egypt to release her under the condition that she has to leave the country immediately. And when she left the country, according to her release, terms, she fled to Canada so she can have her freedom over there. While over there, her dad died, and she was extremely depressed that she took her life to, I think, a month ago. And the New York Times was talking about it, and other, Washington Post talking about it, and other, platform and social media putting her face. And, as if she was arrested, raped, and depressed, deprived of her family, and killed because of something else other than Islam. It is because of Sisi. It's not because of Sisi. It is because of Islam teaches that. This is the kind of religion that Biden is going to be putting in our schools in this time that we live in? Is it? This is the question that we have to ask him. You know, I met a lot of Muslim men in my life. I was one. And I have never seen a Muslim man who did not even either threaten his wife or actually beaten his wife out of disciplining his wife. This is a big statement to make, but it's true. Why? Because in the mentality and the mindset of men in the Muslim world, that women is a possession of his. You know, in the early stages of marriage or even, you know, being, you know, engaged and so forth, there is lots of love and lots of, you know, relationship like normal. But then later on, as soon as they get married, the man feels the responsibility that he has the responsibility to discipline his wife. That if she's obedient, if she's good and so forth, then they can be happy and cuddly and all that kind of stuff. But if she is not obedient, if she's doing things that is not acceptable in the culture or other things, it's his manhood has been hurt and he has to discipline his wife. So either he has to threaten her or he has to do something about it. And this is completely the norm. Part of actually one of the songs that they play in weddings, talking about the man has to be tough and macho and doing, you know, be careful how to treat his wife and so forth. So in this time that we live in, are we going to allow polygamy teachings in our schools and misogyny and beating wives and other things? Or what exactly he's talking about? What is exactly he's talking about? You know, is he talking about this kind of religion that we are supposed to be? And this is not an Islamophobe. Those are teachings of Islam. Those are the Quranic verses that is within the Islam. Those are the sayings of Muhammad, the founder and the prophet of Islam. This is the culture of Islam altogether. Are we going to put a message different from all of that? Or I don't know what it is altogether. And, you know, they have the audacity to say that Christians are the misogynist and the radical, and the Christians are the racist and all the things that they say. For them, Jesus is kind of something that they put on the shelf and condemn us with it. They want to say, you know, you're not a good Christian. They believe in Jesus that talks about love, but they completely ignore whatever he said before or after he said the best commandment is love. They ignore who Jesus is altogether. They ignore the Bible altogether. And they don't want to, you know, say anything about the Bible except if what they, you know, feel that this is part of their own agenda and so forth. So they want to take Christianity, take Jesus out of our schools because is this kind of condemning religion, but they want to put Islam according to Biden. All of this because, you know, for him, he wants to get the votes of the Muslim world. Another thing is, you know, the people who put this meeting together 1 million votes for him, this is the name of the meeting, is by Council of Islamic Relationship. And he's promising that he's going to put Muslims in, you know, in office. And you know how that looks like. You know, it's not bluffing, because we just 4 years ago, we had already this happening in our country during Obama's years. And again, it is not about having Muslims in the White House or in the administration or in government. I'm not over here a phobe of any kind. But if we have Muslims who are putting the religion on the side, and when they are working for the United States of America, they are fulfilling the oath of office that they are taking, they are furthering the United States agenda, they are furthering the United States policies, and they are really swearing into the oath of the office that they are taking, and they are taking it serious, and they are doing what they're supposed to do, then I have no problem with that. But the problem is most of those people who has been in government during Obama years are people from the Muslim Brotherhood. And they are swearing for furthering the cause of Islam and the political agenda of Islam and the cause of Islam by their heart and minds throughout their life. Why are we allowing people like this to serve in our government? The question is, would Egypt or Saudi Arabia or Emirates or Syria or any other country allow somebody in their government who is going to be advocating for the United States of America? Are they going to put a minister in Saudi Arabia whose main goal is to further the agenda of the United States in their country? Are they going to ever do that? So why we do that? Why we let somebody else work for the United States government and furthering somebody else. This is called sedition. This is not keeping their oath. I'm not asking for any kind of favor. I am just advocating for doing what you're supposed to do. I'm not, if you are a Muslim and you're gonna keep your faith to your mosque, then I'm fine with that. We all have, our faith. I will keep my faith, and I will work within my faith when I'm doing what I'm doing. But as a Christian, I am not having any political agenda. Jesus said, give to Caesar what for Caesar and give to God what for God. It's an amazing statement. It's a very strong statement. It is a very philosophical, strong, big statement. But it will never allow me to be seditious for my own country if I'm a Christian working for the government. In Islam, you cannot separate their political agenda from the religion. The religion is a political agenda. From day one, Islamic calendar started by the foundation of the Islamic State. The Islam cannot, actually calling separation between the government and the religion is forbidden in Islam. So if somebody is willing to take office and to denounce the teachings of Muhammad according to political agenda, I am fine with that. Take office and serve the United States of America, but do not serve another country while you're pretending to be taking office of the United States official. Don't you think that's acceptable or not? Is that hateful in any way? That's a straightforward what you need to do. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take questions. I want to finish another statement about the last thing about Biden calling and quoting the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, and he said the hadith that when you see something wrong, you have to correct it. This is a very authentic hadith, which is proven to be the exact words of Muhammad. The thing about it is, this is a hadith that actually was the basis of my dad trying to kill me. Why? Because in Islam, it teaches that you should not keep your religion for yourself and mind your own business and work for your own salvation and try to be a good person your own. Islam teaches that you are supposed to do what you're supposed to do, is to be a good Muslim. But also it's your obligation as a shepherd, and this is part of the hadith, that you have to take care of the rest of the flock that you are taking care of. Not from a Christian perspective that you pray for your kids or pray for your wife or do things in your community that will helping others if they are not corrected. No, you have to correct it by your own hand, as Biden says. You have to correct it by your words and by your hands. And if you cannot, and incapable and incompetent, then you change it by your own heart. So the best Muslim, as the hadith says, that the one is going to be changing by his own hands. So basically, when somebody like my own father, who feels that his son is leaving the faith of Islam or religion of Islam and becoming a Christian, is that wrong or not? For in his eyes, it is a big wrong. And Muhammad told him, if you see something wrong, you have to change it by your own hands. So what is the thing that he's supposed to do? To stop me, to beat me, to do whatever it takes to correct my path. And when he couldn't, he had to kill me. And this is why he acted upon it. So we have a president candidate of the United States of the candidate of the presidency of the United States of America, repeating the words of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad. That is one of the main things that many of the terrorists that is doing on a daily basis today and repeating on a daily basis today, so they can inflict pain on others and terrorist attacks. You know, when you look at what they do, and even in the Muslim countries, they are following the same hadith as well. I am not sure who told him to say that stuff and why he's doing and how much desperate he is. But the fact of the matter, everything he said in that statement is wrong to the core and should disqualify him for even being a candidate for the United States of America presidency. And I wholeheartedly saying that, not with the strongest conviction ever, because what he says is completely against the United States in every way, in every shape, form. Okay? There is any questions online? Or any questions over here? I'm gonna take a couple of questions and I can move on to the second thing.
No questions on the internet.
Okay. Questions, not comments, please. Go ahead.
Then it's okay for them to lie. Why would we want them to be in any position?
Well, we have to have, the question is, if we allow if they can allow, the religion allows them to lie, allow Muslims to lie. And this is again verses in the Quran, not out of my making, not out of anything. They are allowed to do that according to the Quran verses. And you read this in my book when I'm talking about, you know, the lying and so forth and how it happened throughout history when the book comes out, that we are supposed to have system in place which vets people before becoming, you know, political officials. We should not let somebody like Ilhan Omar or any of the other, and you know, and it's not about Muslims only, it's about others who are openly saying that we should, you know, Ilhan Omar said we should destroy the system of the United States of America. She said that on a video just a couple of weeks ago. Did you watch that? Well, I'm not against her wearing hijab. I'm not against her to be a Muslim. I'm not, you know, if she's giving money to her $1 million to her new husband and cheating on her previous husband, you know, all of that stuff is wrong altogether. But if she says, I want to destroy the system of the United States of America, then she should be disqualified immediately. Can you imagine any Republican or anybody that would say that and they would stay in office? I don't think so. So the fact of the matter, we should have system in place that will vet those who are going to take office, and they'll be able to make sure that the person is saying the truth and he's going to be swearing the oath of office, you know, honestly, and they deliberately want to follow through, not just somebody making things up. And we should not let anybody actually swear on the Quran. Rob and I had this discussion the other day. Should we let people swear on the Quran or not? Well, we should not. We should not, absolutely. Why? Because the Quran teaches the things that I said. Okay? The Quran teaches beating wife and slavery and killing the homosexuals and no separation between a state and the mosque and the religion and many other things, and killing the infidels and fighting the Jews and the Christians, and the Jews were atheists. Do you think this book is worthy of standing on podium and swearing on to take office of the United States of America that was built on this amazing ideals of freedom and justice for all? Do you think so? I'm not a phobic of anything. I'm just an honest and straightforward. I am not gonna let somebody have a book that says all that stuff and put it as a book and swear on it. And plus, what kind of allegiance are you doing? If you are swearing on the Quran, then obviously you are putting the Quran ahead of the United States of America. You know what? If you don't like the Bible, don't swear on the Bible. But swear on something that aligns itself with the ideals of this country and the office that you are about to take. That's not too much to ask. That's not phobic. This is facts. These are based on real facts. And this is based on what the book says. Not me, not making things up. Just look at the book. And the best thing is, when I listen to you and says, you know, there's people on both sides say that. I read the Quran multiple times, and I know that the Quran is an amazing book. And I don't know where they come with that statement and what does that even mean. I'm not sure where they read that. Like what is part of the Quran that they read and it's an amazing book? Like, I'm not sure what it is. Muslims themselves know that the book is a book of condemnation. They read it because they have to read it, because they go to heaven if they read it, and they know it's a book that corrects their life and judge every aspect of it. So even Muslims don't look at the book and says, you know, this is the most loving book, I'm going to read this so I can feel good. They don't do that. Muslims themselves never said, you know what, I'm going to read the book because it's going to make me feel good. No, they have an obligation to read it in their 5 times prayers. They have to read it for going to heaven and so forth. No, I've never said, and I lived 30 something years in Muslim countries, and I've never heard somebody says, you know what, I'm going to read the Quran so I can have some kind of solace to my heart. You know, they play it in funerals so it can be a reminder. It's a reminder of the judgments and things like that. So I'm not sure why somebody says, you know, the book, it's an awesome book. What is awesome about it? I would love to know what's awesome about it. Does it provide forgiveness, grace? None of that. And the book itself, it says it's a book of judgment. It's a nadhir. The book says in itself, the Quran says, it has been sent, this book, to be a nadhir, which means a warning to you. The book itself says that. How comes anybody says it's a good book? It's beyond me. Any questions? Go ahead.
We have one online. A young lady says that she is sorry for what you had to go through.
I am not. I'm good.
All right. And the question is, wouldn't it be a good thing for our children to learn the truth about Islam? If they did, would they not happily run toward Christianity?
So the question is, you want me to repeat the question? The question online says that somebody's sorry for what I have been through. I'm not whatsoever. I'm so happy with everything. It's a blessing, the good and the bad, and I'm not going to be this person today without all the testings and the blessings that I had through my journey. So I'm blessing and thanking God and praising Him for everything happening in my life, including the bad parts and everything else. The second part of the question is, should we teach our kids at schools about the religion of Islam so they would not turn to it? I agree, but the problem is Biden is not talking about that. Biden is not saying, let's teach the kids about the racist and the homophobic and the misogyny of Islam so we run away from it. He's talking to the Muslims, put together by the Muslim Brotherhood, group, so they can tell the kids how awesome Islam is. So they will never have a Bible, they will never have a Christian prayers at school, but they can have teachings about Islam. So I would agree, we need to learn about others. And the main reason for this, the question is, so our kids would not run to Islam or not to be deceived by it. This is one thing, and it's an important thing. But the other thing is, all of us, including the younger generation and older and everybody in America and in the West, and in the church as well, should learn about Islam to the teeth. Why? So we can advocate for those who are victims of that religion. And the victims are mainly from the Muslim communities. Those women who are beaten by their husbands, they are Muslims too. We should feel sympathy for them and help them out. Most Muslim women think that it is okay, it is fine because she is wrong and Islam teaches this. We should tell her that God loves you and do not give anybody the right to beat you no matter what, and this is wrong. So we should learn so we can be real advocates for the victims of Islam, including Muslims themselves. And also for the church to learn about Islam so they can tell Muslims how and who Jesus is and how they can find their salvation, not by hard work that provide them no way out, but actually by accepting the loving God who is Jesus Christ. So I agree that we should learn about it, but we should learn the truth about it. I'm not going to depend on Biden to do that. Okay? Any more questions? Go ahead.
Biden's talking about taking things into your own hands, making things better, making things right. Also, it's right according to Islam.
According to Islam.
So it's not what everybody else thinks how things should be done.
I love your question. So the question is, what Biden says, when you see something wrong, you should correct it. Well, the real verbiage of Arabic, it says, when munkar, and I'm saying in Arabic, sorry for that. Munkar means something as a sin against Allah. It's not just the wrong. The translation that he says when he says wrong is very deceiving by itself, because the right verbiage of the Prophet, it says when you see something that is wrong in the eyes of Allah and wrong in eyes of towards Allah. So somebody as an apostate like me, somebody who is doing something against Islam and so forth. And actually, I don't think he's doing this by any mistake. The Muslim Brotherhood wants to tell the Muslim community in the United States of America. And by the way, there is lots of Muslims who actually support Trump and current administration. They do, because they see what he's trying to accomplish and so forth. And they are disillusioned with the religion a little bit, and they loosely understand what Islam teaches. So some of them are not advocates of Biden has to say, and they don't want to vote for him. But they are telling Muslims that by your action supporting Trump or not voting for Biden, you are sinning against Allah. This is why he was repeating something like a dummy. He doesn't know what he says. I bet if somebody confront him today, like I do, and hopefully the message will go out, that you are repeating a hadith or a saying of Muhammad that is used by terrorists every day to condemn others and beat others, women and children and others in different communities, including the United States and including other governments as well. So he's repeating one of the most vicious hadiths or saying of Muhammad ever, and repeating it by his own by himself. That's wrong. And yes, it is not about the word wrong itself. It's actually the munkar means something against Allah himself. Make sense? Any more questions? You guys are sleeping. Go ahead. Okay, we have more questions. Go ahead.
Dr. Mark, I read a lot of the Quran and Hadith.
Did you find it very good?
It's, in many ways, it gets confusing with the abrogations, and it's as hard to understand sometimes as the Old Testament.
But what really gelled Islam for me was reading the biography of Muhammad. When I learned about his life and what the founder of this religion actually was like, that brought it into context. Is there a good is that a true assertion? And is there a good biography that would help people understand? Because I believe that no matter who, if you read it from an apologist or from someone who attacks Islam, that when you read a clear biography of Muhammad, you really get the context of what it's about.
That's a great question, and I'm gonna analyze it a little bit. So when you say that you read the Quran is confusing, I totally agree that the Quran is confusing even to Muslims themselves. And this is why you have lots of Muslims who sometimes read the Quran because it's an obligation or it's part of their prayers or whatever the reason, or they hear it at the funeral or so forth. And they don't really grasp the message of Islam altogether. And sometimes they blame imams for jihad or for terrorism and stuff. And they think that Islam is an awesome religion because somehow they want to believe that. And when they read the Quran, they do not grasp what it means. So they just read it repetitively without understanding what it means. So it is confusing. It's hard to understand. Even for Arabic-speaking people reading the Arabic text of the Quran, it is very hard for them to understand. When you say that when you read or get educated on the biography and the footsteps of Muhammad, then you start having a grasp of what Islam teaches and so forth. And I agree with that statement as well. But here is the thing, the biggest of all of that. You are saying that statement from a perspective that Islam is horrible, is bad, and and it's a very vicious kind of an ideology. Agreeing with this is not the point. The point is you have 1.4 billion people out there who believes in that religion, and there is generations upon generations for the last 1400 years that has been part of that religion for all of those years, and for years to come if we did not do anything about it. So when we learn about that stuff, I think we should learn about it so we can be able to sympathize with some of the Muslims out there, not the leaders, because the leaders know what they're talking about, but the majority of Muslims out there, and be able to reach out to them with a bigger message of love and bigger message of understanding. We have to know what they believe. And this is why I think we should learn about Islam as well, whether the footsteps of Muhammad and so forth. Many of them think that Muhammad is an awesome man, that he did everything right, he did nothing wrong whatsoever. He was the perfect man in every way, because this is how Muslims grow up to believe and so forth. And when they look at any kind of anything problematic he did, they look at it from a different lens and make it a big thing and a good thing, because they are not allowed to think any differently. So you are right, but we should look at it from more a sympathetic way to the Muslims as well. Make sense? Any more questions? Go ahead.
We have some online.
Okay.
This goes back to office holding.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't those who have sworn in on the Quran been removed from office?
Well, good luck. The question is why we are not removing those who swear into office and they are actually lied in their oath and called for the destruction of the United States of America system, like Ilhan Omar did. Why we are not removing her from office? Well, we have a president who said that she needs to go back to her country, and havoc was been broken loose and stuff. So I think we have to come to consensus of who are we as a country and how to enforce our laws equally on everybody, and how we should not I think Martin Luther King was actually right when he said that we should judge people not according to the color of their skin, by the content of their character. I think we should not say this person is a Muslim, so we should let them have a more privilege than others. We do not have a system in place whatsoever to be able to do that. Or actually, I would correct myself. We do have a system. We have a constitution and a set of laws that people who are committing seditious and acts like that supposed to be removed and impeached from office. But we do not have the backbone in America anymore to stand firm and to enforce those laws. And this is a huge, big defect in America today.
I'd like to ask a question personally.
Go ahead.
Do elections count?
Or elections count a lot. So the question is, do elections count? I look at the upcoming election in the coming November, and many people for generations have said, the coming election is the most election in your lifetime and so forth, and we have repeated that multiple times. I do look at this coming election in November, not a regular election whatsoever. It's not the most important one that happens in your life. This is actually not a regular election. This is fighting for the soul of the country, and is going to decide what kind of country we are going to have, or a chance to have. If we go to the direction of, let us teach Islam in schools and have Muslims in office, and let us enforce the teachings of Muhammad by correcting the wrong, then we are not going to have the United States of America that was founded by our founding fathers that they hate nowadays. And they are openly saying that. We're going to have a different country. And that country has no place to survive the way it survived for the last 240 something years. We are going to have a completely different country. And if we succeeded in this coming election to keep the ideals of America, it is not a slam dunk, it's not 100% agreed that we're going to keep America. At least we're going to have a chance to keep the fight on, and to try our best to keep the country. So this is like a civil war kind of, situation. And it is huge and it's big. And this is why everybody is doing whatever it takes to win this upcoming election. I don't think Trump and his administration is doing enough, actually, in my opinion. And I will share with you something that I had to talk about, with the campaign a couple of days ago. So moving from this point, I want to talk about something else as well. Is I talked to you about Israel, and I will take more questions later on, but right now we need to move on a little bit. So I talked about Israel a lot, talked about the deal of the century. Some of you remember what I talked about. Some of you were not here when I talked about it. But one of the remarkable things of Trump administration, something called the deal of the century. And he was trying to bring some kind of a peace plan in the Middle East to, by the help of some Muslim countries, to bring some kind of sense in the Middle East, different from any previous administration. And whether you like Israel or not, support Israel or not, I do, but people have different opinions about it. But wherever you stand on Israel, the fact of the matter, this part of his agenda, of Trump's agenda, is very significant and is very telling about the forces against him and what is it trying to do and accomplish. And 2 months ago, I talked about Netanyahu finally was able to grasp the prime minister office again, even though he's under investigation, and that he announced July 1st to be the day that he's going to follow through and take over parts of the West Bank and exercise the sovereignty of Israel and the land that it belongs to it, and the promise that God gave it to Israel, and to make it part of Israel indefinitely without sitting on a negotiation table that is non-effective whatsoever before, and just move forward with that. And I was so happy by his stern, strong decision deciding July 1st that is going to be the date. I don't know, some of you remember that, or you are here or online and so forth. Well, unfortunately, after being that strong and that firm, July 1st came and ended, and nothing happened. The annexation did not take place, unfortunately. And there was no statement from Netanyahu and says, we are postponing or doing anything. It's just the day came and passed by. Here is why, and what happened, and why I came across, I read a lot about that stuff. And this is one of the articles that's very telling about the forces against the current administration, okay? So the date that was set was July 1st. June 25th, 191 congressmen and women from the United States of America put together a letter condemning Netanyahu from moving forward with annexation of parts of the West Bank, telling him that if he do it, and you can read the letter, I think we should post the letter on our website, that if he do it, that he is going to be, they will push forward to stop sending him the aid and the support, and he's going to lose the support of the United States of America. As if we do not have a president, it seems like the president is in no existence whatsoever. But anyway, they put this letter together. Also, leaders from Germany, leaders from France condemn Netanyahu and says, do not move forward with the annexation because it will threaten the peace movement and in the Middle East and so forth. And then definitely the United Nations as well did the same thing. And then unfortunately, some Republican senators, including Romney and others, send another letter as well to Netanyahu threatening him, together with Bernie Sanders and Cortez and all of those people within the, within the government that we talked about, okay? I think Ilhan Omar did not sign anything because she feels that Netanyahu is not even worthy to send him a letter, in her opinion, right? So you have all of those forces within the United States of America from the Democratic Party. But it does not stop there. Here is another thing. 41 of Israeli political officials start condemning Netanyahu from exercising his right as a prime minister by forcing the sovereignty of Israel on its land. Let it sink in a little bit. You have elected officials and leaders within Netanyahu's circle themselves that actually were standing against him and threatening him that he should not move forward by taking over the land that belonged to Israel. And one of those people, actually one of his best friends, that was the head of Mossad previously. Mossad is like the CIA of the United States. And he also signed a letter to condemn Netanyahu. And those 41 officials in Israel did not stop there. They actually sent a thank you letter to the Democratic congressmen in the United States, thanking them for standing against Netanyahu and his plan, okay? And it did not stop there. They actually saying that if Netanyahu moves forward, he will threaten the peace in the Middle East, including peace with Egypt and other countries. I don't know when was peace between Israel and other countries. Majority of Muslim countries do not even accept the existence of Israel. Until today, they do not want to say Israel even exists. And another point is Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Emirates, which is 4 major Muslim countries, are actually in support of Netanyahu moving an annexation of the West Bank. So I'm not sure even if there is Muslim countries today willing to back Trump administration and back Israel in moving forward with taking sovereignty over its land, and other within Israel, in the United States and other leaders want not to do that. And that tells you one thing, okay? That the forces against this current administration, not about Israel only, but about everything, from immigration to tax cuts to everything, is all coalescing together to get rid of him, okay? And one of the serious things is when we look back in the last 3 years, we see that, Trump tried to accomplish many things. He did not succeed in everything. He did succeed in some of it. For example, for immigration, he said he's going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. Mexico is not paying for it. That's fine. But the wall is not built. He's so happy to say we finished 200 miles. Well, it is not finished. 200 miles is not a wall still. I'm not going to accept it that I have one door to my house and the second part of the door is not there, I'm going to say I have a door. No, it's not. If I do not have a full door to my house, then I do not have a door. We do not have a border still. And yes, he was obstructed by the left, by the same actors in the United States and outside and so forth. I think the winning message is not supposed to talk about Biden and how incoherent he is and how he doesn't know where he's at and he is struggling with finding who he is, or that children, rub his feet and all the kind of stuff that he says, the gaffes he says, and the weird stuff he says. He says a whole bunch of weird stuff. In this video, he's saying weird stuff, but he was very coherent to say, right? And when I met with him and talked to him, he was very coherent. He was not Alzheimer guy or having problem. I'm not making fun of anybody struggling with Alzheimer's. All of us are going to get there if we live enough, including myself, I think very, very soon. But, the fact of the matter is the winning message is for him for the current administration, for Trump to say why he did not do what he promised people to do. And he, even though he tried his best, and he has to expose all of those forces against him, and not from a victim perspective, but actually from a perspective that says, I learned my lesson. All of this has been coalition against me. But if I win again, I will fight them. I will stand for you. I will do what I've promised you to do. And also in the next 4 years, he needs to, say exactly what he's going to do for the next 4 years. The message of Biden is bad is not enough. By the way, I said all that. I was actually on a phone call coordinated by the Mike Pence VP the other day, and I stayed quiet most of the conversation. And then I asked for contribution. I said what I said. I don't know if they're going to have me again or not on the phone call, but I have to say, I have to say that this is the winning message. If you think you're doing the right thing by continue attacking Biden, well, most of us know that Biden is not coherent enough. Most of us know exactly how old he is, and his agenda, and his long life, and his political life, and all that kind of stuff. What is going to get people off their seats and go stand in line and vote, especially younger people, is a winning message, a positive message about what is supposed to be happening and what's taking place in the future. And that is my opinion. So I'm not going to continue blaming the left for what they're doing. They are doing atrocities and horrible things, but we should actually stand on our feet and also talk about the positive message. And this is something that we need to do as well. I'm going to take a couple of questions before I move to the second thing. And I'm going to put this article, I think Vicky is going to put it on our website so you can read the names, read the letter, understand the forces that, working together to fight this current administration. You guys are sleeping, or are you okay? You're okay? Am I boring? I think I'm boring, I guess. Okay.
When he asked the question, when he read the biography of Muhammad,
yes,
he said, you talked about the Muslims who read the Quran. Are Muslims allowed to read the truth about Muhammad and the truth about him?
Yes. Muslims actually read most of the things that he read about Islam is coming from Muslim sources.
How can they still hold true?
Do you have kids?
No, I don't.
Okay, sometimes, for some people who have kids and their kids are messed up and doing a whole bunch of stuff, and we start looking at them as adorable. This is how they look at Muhammad. No matter what he does, no matter what he did, oh, it's amazing. It's always how to look at things and how to be deceived. And so you will read in my book as well, when it comes out, hopefully soon, by the help of Vicky, okay, that, there is lots of stories, about Muhammad. For example, it makes no sense whatsoever, a story about Muhammad, and it's not about bad or good right now, it's just a story about Muhammad. That when he was 7 years old, this is a verse in the chapter in the Quran, and a story that has been told, that when he was 7 years old, an angel, Gabriel, came in, and he cut him open, all his abdomen, and get all his organs out, especially the heart and the lungs, put them in the bucket and wash them, and then put them back in and sew his chest back in. And throughout his life, you can see the sign of those stitches, okay? Because he was cleansing him from the sin, so he will be without a sin, and that's how he can be a perfect man, okay? That's just a story, right? Okay, there is freaking doctors who believe that story, including my own father and my dad and myself throughout my life. So you would think, why do you have to put the heart in a bucket next to him? Why do you have to do that? And why do you have the surgery? See, the story was put 1400 years ago. There was no surgery. People were illiterate. Scientific methods were not in existence. So people believed some stuff like that, right? Can any Muslim today challenge that story and says, I'm a heart, lung surgeon, and I'm a Muslim, but I don't think I will agree with this chapter in the Quran. I think, from my practice, if I actually cut a person open and put their heart and lungs in a bucket and sew it back on, I think I'm going to lose my license, and probably my life as well. Do you think they can do that? They can't. Why? Because they have to look at the stories as, wow, that's amazing. Muhammad, yeah, this has happened. They have to defy logic and knowledge and their methods and all that kind of stuff to believe those stories. Set aside, you know, other stories as well. I'm just bringing a simple story that is not going to hurt. You know, we can say, you know, I want to be a Muslim still, but I'm not going to agree with that story. Don't you think it's wrong? It's okay. You know, Muslim says, you know, I have some reservation about that, but this is a big deal, because if you have reservation, then you are challenging Muhammad. You are challenging his purity, and you are challenging the Quran and says, maybe the Quran is not right. And then you are losing your faith. You are supposed to be killed at this point in time. So they defy logic to accept the stories no matter where they are. Make sense? To stay faithful and believing, and to be away from being condemned by the religion.
If they challenge it like you did, wouldn't they be killed?
Absolutely. If you challenge the Quran, then you are an apostate of Islam, and you are not a Muslim anymore, and you're supposed to be put to death. I'm running out of time. I hate that. Go ahead.
I think that's kind of the thing, though, if you read the Bible and Jesus resurrected after he's been killed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, unless you have faith, you would. That's just a story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you ever hear about Thomas? Did you ever hear about Thomas? We do not, Islam does not have Thomas. Nobody ever doubted. See, the Bible, yes, it has miracles. And ironically, the weird thing is, most of the stories of the Bible and the miracles of the Bible is part of Islam as well. So they have to accept those miracles, but they have to have a little bit of twist to make Muhammad fit in and be the superior of all of it. So even the miracles is not looked at down from Quran, you know, they see all that stuff. But the doubt and the thinking is allowed and actually encouraged in Christianity. So if you want to challenge, and my son comes up with questions all the time, you know, he's in college age, and he asks me questions and challenge me, and I try to talk to him about that. I'm not going to get up and just stab him to death because he's challenging my faith or his faith, right? This is the big difference between the Bible. We are allowed to challenge. We are allowed to let, and here is the biggest thing that actually I told him the other day. You know, the miracle of departing the sea, or the miracles of the cross and so forth, because he's right now studying science, and most of people in science sometimes think that because they study science, they're going to be able to, you know, say the miracles never happened. And I said, if the miracle of departing the Red Sea can be proven by any scientific founding of any generation, then God is not a God of miracles. He's just ahead of time. And that is not allowed. The miracle has to stay no matter how much we find about science and how much we find. The miracle will exist. And it is, you know, and here is another thing. I don't want to have to believe, you know, in things. I can challenge them, and I will let God to speak to my heart, work to my heart. And this is a question I get all the time. I scrutinized Islam to the teeth, and this is why I left Islam. Why didn't you do the same to the Bible? Actually, I did. But God proved himself throughout the years how real he is and how he works in my life. I'm not gonna doubt the miracles because they are weird and hard to believe. I'm gonna believe them because he did miracles in my life that I can understand that he himself can do miracles as well. Make sense? Do you have any more questions?
We have a couple online. One you answered in general. This is a little more specific. Has President Trump corrected the damage done by Obama when Obama purposely instructed the FBI, CIA, and other intelligence agencies to delete all the information gathered about Islamists, terrorists, and terrorist activities they were involved in?
No, Trump did not correct many of the things. Trump administration has been blocked all the way from day one and even before they took office. And the question, maybe I'll repeat it. Did Trump correct the mistakes of Obama with the FBI and the CIA? Well, I think that question is out of line because he was not able even to correct Obama and Biden and the FBI and the CIA spying on him. Till today, all of those people who committed crimes against, not crimes against Trump, against the United States of America by doing things that is not allowed and taking the office for their own good, they're supposed to be prosecuted by the United States of America. Until today, they are tweeting, they are selling books, they are provided platforms on news media and outlets and so forth. So he did, that stuff. Not because he's incompetent, but because he has been roadblocked every way from day one till today. And this is something that I wish he would talk about, that he says, I didn't do this. He goes on and tweet and says, it is unbelievable that those people did not get, well, you are the freaking president, I'm sorry, and you are supposed to do something. And if you cannot do it, then you have to say what you cannot do it, and we can elect you so you can do it. But he's not saying that stuff. I wish he will be doing that stuff. He would be saying, I'm going to correct things. So till today, he was not able to correct the crimes against him and against the United States. So he corrected some of the stuff within the FBI and CIA according to Muslim stuff, but not everything, and he needs to do way more than he did. You have a question very quick, because you have like 5 minutes on a.
On that line, Mark, don't you think that he's waiting for John to come down and our Secretary of State to do that?
Not Secretary of State, but he's waiting on the system to play its way, and Barr to do his job and so forth, and they're working hard to do it. But see, the left, they're not idiots and not dummies. For example, what is the article about Israel? Sometimes the timing is more important than anything else. This plan was supposed to be announced 2 years ago. He should have done it then. Keep on waiting for the right circumstances is not going to help. We keep on waiting on Barr for the right circumstances is not going to happen. And the people who are scheming and working together, and the worst of all is the Republicans who are waiting to stab in the back. And you have to remember this, and before I close. In 2016, previously and before the election, there is lots of Republicans has been scheming to stop Trump from being nominated, and also getting Trump from getting elected, and then later on even swear into the office. All of a sudden, they became silent. Do not make the mistake and think that they are silent. Now they are coalition together to work hard to get him out of office. And the worst of enemies is the Republicans that are trying to stab in the back more than the left and more than the Democrats. This is the problem that we are facing. And again, over here, because I'm 501c3, I'm not advocating one person over another. I am just stating the facts, and you have to make your own choice. You have to make a choice of what kind of country you want to live in, what kind of ideology and what kind of schools you want to live in, and so forth. This is important that we have to make those decisions. And we should not sit this down or actually shy away from telling others that they need to vote. And one of the things that I want to finish with, as we are approaching, and I said that last month, and I'm going to repeat it again, we need to do something. Number one, we need to pray. And number two, and number three, and number four, we need to pray. Prayers do miracles. I have seen it in my life. I bet you have seen it as well. And if you didn't, should try it. It does miracles, okay? We need to pray for their country, because the schemes and the deception and the lies is unbelievable, okay? And there is no effort whatsoever by a man we're able to stop all the evil that is going on right now, from racial agenda to the Black Lives Matter, to a virus that they are touting every day, to everything that's going on. Those schemes are horrible. They are strong. They are powerful. They are well-funded. There is no way to stop all of that stuff. The only way that we can stop that by prayer is number one, and then also praying for how God will lead us and ask us to do, and what we can do for him to save this country. I don't have like a secret recipe tell you what to do. I did my part, actually. I'm on a meeting. I should be quiet and agreeing with everything, so I get invited again. I didn't. I voiced my opinion to themselves, and said, you are doing it wrong. It did not work with Hillary before. They call Trump all kinds of names, and he ended up winning. We can call Biden all kinds of names, and he's going to end up winning. So we should not fall into the same scheme. Maybe they will never invite me on the phone call again. I don't care. I did my part. I'm asking you to do your part as well. Pray about what you are supposed to do. You have to, okay? And do not be discouraged by all of that stuff. There is more horrible things happen in history, talking about the cross. Do you think there is worse than putting Jesus on the cross? It was a very bad thing, don't you think? But he kind of became victorious out of that. So God can change things in our favor. And sometimes God has to let us hit bottom and see things are at bad. And you know what? In 2016 and 15 and 14 and 11, things were really bad. Remember Benghazi and what's going on? Remember everything was going on, 6 years ago or 8 years ago? Things were really bad. And right now we have something to fight for. Let's do it, right? Let's fight for the future of this country. Amen. Okay, I will end with this, right? We're out of time, right?
We're okay if you have more.
No, I have more, but I don't want to, go over time. So I want to end with this, and thanks for people online, and hopefully we'll see you again next month. And I would be open to some questions on the side over here if you want me. There was another thing I want to talk about, about Turkey and Libya and stuff, but maybe for another time.
Our producers have told us that if you want to continue, you can.
Well, I have to ask you guys, can you okay for 5-6 minutes? Okay. Are you okay, Vicky? No, you're not. Okay. So I'll go till 7:15. Would that be okay? One topic I want to talk about actually that kind of touch on many things that we talked about. You can witness, you can see that there is not lots of terrorist attacks taking place nowadays, right? There is no action that is usually takes place, like we have seen before. And many people actually, believe in the delusion that terrorist attacks are a goal of their own. Like terrorists are bloodthirsty, want to do things so they can kill people and bring havoc and all that kind of stuff. And I want you to understand that terrorism is a tool not to kill and to destroy, but actually to further a political agenda. And today, we don't have that kind of goal that can be accomplished by terrorism. That means that terrorists are not doing anything? And I'm going to give you an example if you don't believe me. I'm going to give you an example of 9/11, for example. When 9/11 took place, okay, many people thought that or believed that this is just a horrific action, which was, and there is towers going down, 3,000 people died, and so forth. The manifesto of the people, Muhammad Atta and the hijackers, said that they are doing this to further the cause of Islam and to make America know about Islam and convert Americans to Islam. I don't know if you remember that or not. But if you don't, can you imagine if I told you that this is the goal of 9/11? If I tell you that on the next day of September 11, 2001, you will think I'm crazy. I'm telling you, what happened yesterday is actually not just to kill 3,000 people, but actually to bring Islam to America and to further the goal of Islam. What would you think of me if I told you that? Makes no sense whatsoever. Killing people, make people Muslims? There's no way. Here is the fact of the matter. Many years later on, 90% of the mosques that exist in the United States of America today was built after 9/11. Okay? We have a President Obama that was furthering the cause of the Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East, removing presidents who are aligning with the West and replacing them deliberately by the Muslim Brotherhood. We have people within our administration like Ilhan Omar, and actually during Obama years in the administration, that was Muslim Brotherhood members openly within the government. We have Council of American Islamic Relationship that is operating steps away from the Capitol and the White House. Does that make sense to you? All of that happened after 9/11. And the churches accepting Islam since 9/11, when churches did not know anything about Islam before, we have the interfaith movement, we have the Tri-Faith Center over here, we have churches that says we all believe the same God, we are all in the same, we are all from Abraham, and Islam is equal footing, and Muslims are going to go to heaven. If you say, nah, you're wrong, you're a bad Christian, because this is not what Jesus teaches, and so forth. All of that happened after 9/11. Did you get the picture? Make sense? So today, terrorist attacks is not going to further any of that goal. It's not going to cause any of that kind of agenda that they have. That means that they are quiet and doing absolutely nothing? That's not true. They are working, that they're working in a different way. Two fronts I want to explain to you. The first one is in the American political system. Today, they are doing whatever they do, whether with the Black Lives Matter or with Bernie Sanders campaign or with other campaigns, including Biden and others, that they are working hard. They are not killing people, but they are killing America. Make sense? Okay? The other front is Trump was very successful to eliminate ISIS out of Syria and out of Iraq, and was able to make things subside in Syria, and Syria is no longer in the civil war that it was, and the mercenaries and the terrorists that were paid by some of it from Obama's administration and others no longer have a job. So they were upset. They do not have a job. They don't have a fight to go through. So what happens is Erdogan, the president of Turkey, opened a new front in Libya. And just in the last 2 weeks, he started sending troops over there and start getting the mercenaries and all those freedom fighter terrorists out of Syria, transferring them into Libya to start a civil war and a fight over there. I bet you have never heard about that, because usually when the time everybody hears about things in America, it is already in full-blown civil war and so forth. This is what's going on in Libya today. All the mercenaries are moving to Libya, and Libya has no president, no system of government, nothing in system whatsoever in existence, lots of oil, lots of money, lots of opportunity, the best place for terrorists to be trained, to coalesce, to work with each other so they can prepare for the future. The president of Egypt, Sisi, who I do not like, I get to know him personally back in the day, is trying to fight this fight and stop Erdogan from doing this on his own. Not because he doesn't hate Islam, because he hates Islam, but because he doesn't want terrorists on his border, because they will affect his country as well. So this is a fight that is taking place as well for the terrorists. We need to be aware about all of those things and need to understand the dynamics that's taking place, because this is gonna, affect our life. You're gonna start hearing about it in the media, and maybe I will talk about it next time more. Okay? I think with this I will be ending, because we are 7:15, and hopefully we'll see everybody next month. Thanks for coming today and fighting the virus in the good weather and everything else, and coming to listen to a boring message from me. Thank you very much, and hopefully to see you next month. Thank you.